Once upon a time there were superhero movies based on comic book characters, but there were no on-screen links between franchises. Then Marvel had the idea to set up all their heroes in the same universe, a concept that paid dividends after their first team-up movie, 2012's The Avengers. Over at DC, they looked on enviously and decided they want a piece of that team-up pie. The result is 2017's Justice League. You may or may not be aware of the fact that there are two different versions of this film. This video covers the theatrical version of Justice League, which dropped, literally, in cinemas in late 2017, a few months after Wonder Woman breathed new life into DC movies. So very quickly. Director Zack Snyder made a Superman film called Man of Steel, and after that did well enough, he announced a follow-up setting up a wider DC extended universe where two heroes got into a snit and fought each other. Fist Fight starred Charlie Day and Ice Cube. Wait, no, Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice reviewed here.
That did well enough but was critically derided, as was the next DC film Suicide Squad, also critically divided here. Wonder Woman popped up in a few scenes in BVS and created such goodwill that her solo film in 2017 did really well, and it was the first time people would review a DCEU film without needing a red pen.
Which was handy, since later that year, Justice League hit cinemas, and those red pens were poised for action. Justice League was meant to be two films, but sanity prevailed and Snyder would do just the one, continuing in the same serious, dark, fairly humorless vein as Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. It was shaping up, about how you expected. A family tragedy meant Zack Snyder stepped back from the movie and the studio brought in Joss Whedon to finish the film. Whedon, of course, was the director of The Avengers, the first superhero film to gross more than $1 billion. And he directed its sequel, Age of Ultron, the first disappointing superhero film to gross more than $1 billion. Bringing Whedon in looked like a good idea on paper. He was to bring the heroes together in a fun way that was previously completely lacking from the DCEU. Completely lacking, like the concept of sanity at a conference for flat earthers. But his sensibilities were the complete polar opposite of Snyder's. Whedon was known for quippy and snappy throwaway lines. Even his most dramatic work was often funny as well. So you have a movie designed around a dark universe, a sequel to a dark film where everything is in shadows, people fairly maudlin and unhappy, directed by a guy who likes dark and gritty and edgy and nasty. And then to finish it off, you bring in a guy who likes to clown around. So let's see how that works out.
This is a bad idea.
Justice League opens with the world being a shittier place after Superman's death in Batman v Superman, just as the world was a shittier place after the release of Batman v Superman. Batman has found evidence of some aliens planning something and decides he needs allies to fight them. Along with Diana and Alfred, they set about recruiting some of the metahumans that had been teased in Batman v Superman. Batman goes looking for Aquaman, a guy who speaks to the fish. If you're going for a guy who speaks to fish but somehow doesn't make the whole thing smell like that, then Jason Momoa is your guy. He brings in a much needed charm to this ensemble, with a twinkle in his eye and a trident in his hand.
Hey, you know what? I don't want to die. I'm young. There's shit that I want to do. I just feel like I never really embraced the sea or the land. I've been alone my whole life, but being part of something.
There's Ray Fisher as Cyborg, a guy who's linked with an extraterrestrial power source known as a mother box. He's sort of like the Bionic Man.
And you... Explosion. Woke up in the lab.
So where are the accidents?
Yeah, it's us.
And there's Barry Allen, the speedster known as The Flash, played by Ezra Miller. The Flash is a kid who's not good with people, and Miller is an actor not good with comedy, action, or apparently fans.
So you're fast.
That feels like an oversimplification.
I'm putting together a team. People with special abilities.
I'm in.
You are?
Yeah, I need friends.
The plot is as simple as you can get. 3 mother boxes, basically like the Infinity Stones, will let Steppenwolf and his parademons destroy the world for some reason I can't get too worked up about. But sure, let's stop him. After some welcome glimpses of the Amazons and our first decent look at Atlanteans, we watch the gang get together to take on Steppenwolf for the first time. And then around halfway through, Batman decides, hey kids, let's revive Superman.
Clark.
This is Car 56. We can now positively identify Clark Kent as Superman. Say again, Clark Kent is Superman.
So let me make a confession. This is a seriously flawed film in many, many ways. But I actually find it more enjoyable to watch than either Man of Steel, BVS or Suicide Squad. Call it a lapse in judgment. Call it a guilty pleasure. Like a gin-soaked bagel covered in Vegemite. but it has the advantage of just being more fun overall. But this is a review of a seriously flawed film, so while I'm not as down on this film as others are, I totally get and mostly agree with the criticism. Justice League is a child in a family court being asked by the judge which parent it wants to live with. It goes from Snyder grim dark to Whedon happy sunny funny so fast you'll get whiplash.
Dostoevsky!
The costumes and set designs are based around everything being engulfed in shadows, and they suddenly look cheap and nasty. Batman's suit looked great in Batman v Superman, but here it looks like a cheap and nasty Halloween costume. The sort you find on Amazon if you search for cheapest superhero Halloween costume. And in order for Whedon to lighten up the film, there were reshoots. Now people hear the word reshoot and lose their shit, but reshoots are part of every big film. In Justice League, for whatever reason, they needed Henry Cavill to return while he was contractually obligated to Mission Impossible Fallout, where he had grown a mustache. A deal was worked out to let Cavill work on Justice League, but he could not shave the mustache. I mean, Diane Lane's even having a good old laugh about the mo in this scene. The result of this producer pissing contest was that Cavill's mo had to be CG'd out. Okay, worse things happen and they usually go unnoticed by most, except the CG shave was more obvious than a 50-year-old Harry Potter fan trying to get a selfie with Emma Watson. It was really, really bad and stood out. I was gonna say like a sore thumb, but it stood out like Henry Cavill's mustache. It looks like he was badly burned and needed a skin graft from his left buttock.
What was it like?
Itchy.
It's possible that all of this was just to draw attention away from Amy Adams' terrible wig. There's also the obvious issue that when you contrast how shots of Diana or Wonder Woman were composed in Wonder Woman, compared to Justice League, where the camera work could be construed as leering. Is Justice League the world's most expensive upskirt video? Or is Michael Bay releasing a new film soon?
What are your superpowers again?
I'm rich.
The action in CG looks cheesy and often without weight. Everything looks CG augmented or enhanced, with an over-the-top colour grade with garish and brightly popping colours at odds with the style of the previous DCEU films.
I want to die.
It's like when a new superhero costume is first revealed, and a million self-appointed costume designers post their Photoshop versions on DeviantArt, which often consists solely of a clumsy increase in colour saturation. The theatrical version is also one of the few big action films that dispensed with the usual Panavision widescreen aspect ratio that most action films use, and Whedon went for a 1:85:1 ratio, almost the same as a modern television set. But hey, no bars, except big budget TV series are now presented in wider aspect ratios. Most people still watch these things like this. So it's an expensive film that just looks cheap in comparison to, well, practically anything else. The reshoots, while extensive, were obviously not total, which accounts for Snyder still getting sole director credit and avowed foot fetishist Whedon never managing to get Diana wearing open-toed sandals. Whedon did replace composers Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL with Danny Elfman, a change I give no shits about because while the others are good, I prefer Elfman. But such was the obvious desperation of trying to make this a crowd-pleasing movie, Elfman uses a little of his theme from 1989's Batman, and also John Williams' theme from 1978's Superman. The only thing missing is this. Justice League had an okay box office reception, but clearly did not make enough money.
I'm impressed.
Don't be.
People were disappointed with the theatrical version of the film, and some vocal fans, bordering on obnoxious, called for a mythical Snyder cut to be released.
At last, one that doesn't whine.
2020 being that kind of year, Warner Brothers ponied up the cash for Snyder to return and complete his vision. Maybe you weren't paying attention to Batman v Superman.
Such harmony out of such horror. It was truly an age of heroes.
The fallout from Justice League's theatrical version and the impact on the DCEU has been immense, and the Snyder Cut looks like it's almost a completely different experience, with cast members returning to shoot new footage and the entire experience presented as 4 episodes. Whether it improves on the theatrical version of Justice League, only time will tell. Joss Whedon apparently didn't make many friends with this one. All of the goodwill he gained from the Avengers evaporated in a puff of smoke, with many of the cast members pining for Zack Snyder's original vision. Ray Fisher in particular has recently added more fuel to the fire, and Zack Snyder himself has said he won't be using any of Whedon's reshot footage.
But I was running the numbers while you were being an asshole, and there is a high probability that we can bring him back.
Justice League could have been great, and clearly wasn't. It's a tug of war between two contrasting styles, where somehow everybody lost.
Everybody knows.
Christ, I hate that song. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment below, or check out some of our other videos.